Hello and good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our last Tea Time SEO session of 2020. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us and supporting us since we had our first Tea Time SEO March 30th, 2020. And what a year it has been. I think Carrie has some stats of how many people have joined us. I'll pass over to Carrie just to share some of those information with you.
Yeah, so we've had 125 different speakers and a complete 50-50 gender split, which is really exciting. And we've had done altogether, as of today, 69 talks. So yeah.
Nice. Yeah, so it wouldn't have been possible without our audience and without our speakers. So a big thank you to both of you for joining us and also joining us today, our speakers, Mike, Maret, Mark, and Alina. And of course, we've had thousands of cups of tea as well. So I hope everyone's got their tea or coffee or mulled wine for our last Christmas special, or last Tea Time SEO special. So today, really happy to announce that we're joined by Alina Ghost, Mark Williams-Cook, Mike Stepney, and Maret, who's going to share with us today the best 2020 campaigns that they've done and what their plans are for 2021. So I hope this will inspire you to set up perhaps maybe a new campaign or new outreach. I'm SEO Joe Blas, growth marketer here at Authoritas, and I'm joined here by Carrie Shepherd. And we're really pleased to have put on this great Tea Time SEO sessions with everyone. And like we said before, if you have any questions, we have speakers. We have time for Q&A at the end. And if you like the video, click a nice little like button below. So I'm going to pass over to speakers to introduce themselves. Thank you.
Hi everyone. Firstly, thank you so much to the team for actually asking me on. It's an absolute pleasure to be here, and I can't believe that it's already the end of 2020. Hopefully to a better year next year, right guys? So basically I've been in the SEO industry for over 10 years now. I have always been in-house. And I'd say I probably specialize in the e-commerce side of things, although I have branched out more to like the whole news publications most recently. But I've had the likes had the pleasure of working for the likes of like the BBC, Tesco. I started off at Carpetright actually, and Debenhams as well. Rest in peace, poor thing. But basically recently, I think for the last 2 years, I've been hosting SEO with Mrs. Ghost, a podcast all around search engine optimization, just getting like experts on the show talking about what they're doing, sharing their experiences and their tests, which I absolutely love. Actually, currently I'm on maternity leave. So for the past 8 months, I've also had the challenge of working alongside a newborn and a baby. So yeah, it's been a very interesting year for sure for me. Thanks for having me.
Hi everyone, I'm Mark. It's really good to be back on Tea Time SEO. So again, it seems like really not that long ago, but it was quite a while ago. Last time I was on with Mike and Maret, so I'm really pleased to be back. I'm director at Candor, also founder of hopefully everyone's using for their keyword research, AutoAsked.com. Been working hard on that this year. There's a new version coming out hopefully this month. I'll put it out there and say this month. And Aardvark SEO, which is a SEO plugin. Also join the club, have a podcast. I actually half an hour ago just finished recording an episode with Judith Lewis, Chris Green and Christina Azarenko about their thoughts on 2020 SEO and what's going to happen in 2021, which blew my small mind. And I also organize SEO. Well, I've put a little mask emoji there. So I did organize the Search Norwich meetup, which hasn't gone ahead now since January, obviously because of COVID. But really pleased to be here again. Hopefully I can share something useful with you about campaigns.
Yeah, hi everyone. Also really great to be back. Feeling quite philosophical at the end of the year. Looking back, being tasked with trying to pick out some of our best campaigns is always tricky, but really nice to reflect. I think there's been some great success. So yeah, a bit about me. I've been in the industry for probably longer than I'd actually like to admit, but also started myself with my own agency, and now I'm an SEO director here at Blue Array. Hence the lovely branding in the background. But yeah, I have strategic oversight at the moment for a number of our big brands. Also working on some in-house tools and some really exciting stuff. Looking forward to 2021. So let's get this year out the way.
Awesome. Hi, my name is Maret. I'm joined by Robot Dom today. What a legend. So he will be joining me on my talk all day. If there's any little wording questions, then absolutely do not ask me, but ask, Dom. However, it'll be nice to have this little pal with me today. I am the founder of Mobe Digital, which is an inbound marketing and SEO consultancy. We have not got any staff, but we do have a head of marketing, which is Bramble. You can see her posted all over all of my socials. And other than that, I've completely let go of any professional introductions. So what I will tell you is that this is the first year I've bought and decorated my own Christmas tree. And I'm intending to eat my body weight in chocolate and cheese over the next few weeks.
Well, that sounds like a great plan. It's also the first time I've ever bought my own Christmas tree there in the background. I just want to say a very thank you to everyone that's joined us as well today in the audience: Luke, James, Azim, Chloe, Rafael, Serena, Claire, Gregory, and Tom, Nadia, Raphael, and everyone else not signed in. I'm going to pass over to our speakers who are going to share their great tips. Please do drop your questions and we can go and through them in the Q&A afterwards. Thank you. Over to you, Alina.
Great. No, thanks very much. Okay, so basically 2020 has been absolutely crazy in terms of I probably shouldn't even need to mention it, obviously the pandemic and everything. So it meant that search also has been flexible to tailor to people's intent. And so basically I found a lot of my clients actually going back to the basics. So this particular piece that I'm going to share with you is actually around going back to basics. So it's doing your keyword research correctly. But I also like the fact that it's not just a one-trick pony. This piece, so this content piece, was good for rankings, was good for link building, and was good for actually getting other people, so ambassadors, talking about the brand as well. So basically, this piece was all around how you can become an interior designer. So it is very long. So it started off with with questions, answering questions that were around how do you become an interior designer? When I mean about keyword research, it's all around what questions can you answer and create a whole long content piece around that. A lot of research went into that. So it was not just around the questions themselves, so the keyword research, but actually answering the questions with something that is juicy, something that meaty, people that actually want to know more information about that. So obviously that information had to be spot on. You can't just make stuff up. So that article piece I put together using obviously schema markup and structured data, making sure that every single piece was legible, both for the user and the search engine. I know I'm talking basics here, but essentially it's even creating a table to make sure that it's as easy as possible and legible to be read, to be seen, and to be understood. So the idea behind that is obviously looking at the page experience as well. So looking at that UX. So not only is it the information that people want and giving them that information. By the way, we did add anchor text at the top to make sure that if somebody had a specific question and came to the top of the page, they can go down to the question straight away, because there's nothing worse than actually getting to a content piece and actually not seeing the question answered straight away. So by having anchor text and actually clicking on that link that takes you directly to a question, that makes sure that actually you get to answer that as quickly as possible and actually start engaging with that new user. So when it came to actually putting that information together, apart from like the tables and everything, when I talk about like user experience, that's really important, especially because you want the user to enjoy your information, and then when they read the information that they need, actually go to other articles. So actually having related articles is a really great form of doing that, to ensure that they actually click through to another page. That is so important for content creation, because you are showing to Google that actually they're spending time on your page and creating that session. And secondly, that actually they're going to read other information because you are that specialist in that area. Then we actually had a whole section asking questions from our interior designers that we know and people that we work with. So they're experts in their field. This is something super important when it comes to EAT. So expertise, authority, trust. It's like so needed to ensure that you are using people who are trustworthy online, who also write online elsewhere. Going back to those whole Google guidelines around content creation, it's about creating that whole bubble around who needs to be writing what, and have they written before about it? Are people actually engaging with their content? And if so, obviously answering those questions in a really useful way, so that those readers are feeling fulfilled, basically. So the idea of working with those experts also means that they use their social medias and their platforms to push out that piece of content. But then also speaking to people who are liking that particular topic and then asking them to link back. That's how you get that link equity that's relevant, and also get like the social media shares, like I've mentioned, making sure that your schema markup is correct. And what I started off firstly was the keyword research, that you actually using that within your Q&A, within your content itself. So I really hope that this piece just helps you think about the fact that you should go back to basics, that you shouldn't be forgetting the things that work for you day to day, because it's so important to be building that brand no matter at what stage you are at. And apologies for the baby crying in the background. I'm currently on maternity leave, so this is life.
Mark, we want to hear what you say though. You're muted.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Classic.
That was my warm-up. I also have a baby crying in the background, so I'm switching between mute and unmute. So the top tips I'm starting with are from 2021 onwards. I think it's safe to say we're all more comfortable probably being on video now. Certainly clients, I think, were a bit more scared of Zoom calls in January than they are now in December. So we're going to be using that a lot more in 2021. And what I want to talk about is user validation of ideas to increase your content success. And rather than doing one-to-one outreach for your campaigns, to find common value with hubs, and as well not letting new platforms kind of steal our links. So on the next slide, I want to talk about what actually maybe makes successful campaigns. So if you haven't seen it before, Content Curated is a brilliant list put together by Mark Porter. Subscribe to it if you want kind of inspiration for good campaigns. What I want to talk about though is kind of the outreach process, which is on the next slide, and what makes a successful campaign. So I'm going to talk really quickly now because I've got a few slides I want to get through, and this is being recorded so you can go back if you missed my million miles an hour. I want to qualify what I'm going to talk about with digital PR. There was a quote there on the last slide from Giselle saying, our clients don't pay us for coverage. And I think a lot of SEO sometimes when it comes to campaigns gets the spotlight on specific like one-off big digital PR campaigns because they're very attractive as people. It's like a good story, and it's really kind of nice to see that fun side of SEO. And this is the kind of process hopefully we're all aware of in terms of, pitching digital PR, which is, we have our ideas, If you want to charge more for that, you call it ideation. You pitch those ideas either internally or to a client. You go through a research process where you gather the data you need, you produce the assets, whether it's images or video, and then you go about trying to secure coverage by, emailing journalists, and hopefully at the end of all of that, you get links. So that's kind of a well-documented, widely talked about process. One small tip with that is, don't forget, and I see so many people do this, you can sometimes just skip straight ahead to the people you're going to target and ask them what it is specifically they want, and to get validation on your ideas before you go to all the effort of researching and producing these pieces. Like, we got one of our biggest pieces in the Guardian Money a couple of months ago because I just spoke to the person that I knew was writing the article and just said, are you interested in this? And they were like, not really, but if you've got this, that's interesting. So we saved a whole load of time, and we were pretty much guaranteed that coverage before we'd done anything. But a lot of people get stuck in either this digital PR approach, or on the next side, what's kind of the other options. And you get to this really sad state where in September, people are saying things like, oh, we could do an article about tips from working from home, which is like, if you're working in content marketing, you probably want to fling yourself out a window if you hear anyone else writing, content about working from home. There's the advantage is there's probably loads of content out there you could research from, and there's probably at least 6 websites that haven't written about working from home that you could get links on. But you really want to be doing better than this. So how can we do better than this? So rather than just coming up with these ideas, if we go to the next slide, we can start thinking about using user-led content and outreach. So it's faster, it's more successful, you'll get more valuable, it's adaptable. So we're talking about using hubs that are connected to our audience and getting validation of the ideas before we do them. So if we go to the next slide, we can see how we can do better. So how can we do better? Let's find out what the actual problems are that businesses are facing with staff working from home. So how can we do that? Rather than just kind of doing a poll, hubs I might use for this, and we've used this on B2B campaigns, things like the FSB in the UK, Federation of Small Businesses, got 160,000 members. There's 52 chambers of commerce in the UK. All of these have got businesses, people on mailing lists. You can actually contact them and say, hey, we're doing this piece of research to find out what issues businesses are maybe having working from home. Would you mind sharing this survey with your members? And we'll actually give you the results back. So if they'll do that for you, they've got kind of a piece of a reason to do that, because they're passing value to their businesses as well. So hopefully you'll get some interesting kind of quantitative data back, like 105% of the people are eating more junk food at home because they're working from home. It's 105% because they got bigger between the survey and then the eating more. And you'll hopefully get some qualitative data, maybe motivating staff was a problem that businesses were regularly having. So now you've got your kind of real data points that you can go from. The next step here is actually to, take an angle on this. So there's so many angles here. You can connect with maybe diet experts to talk about food or mood, productivity, mental health experts talking about the links between diet, exercise, motivation, HR experts, what benefits can company actually provide their staff. The mission basically is to provide solutions for these real problems that you've uncovered, rather than just kind of picking a topic that we think people might be interested in. And then you can actually put this together and go back to these hubs. And when we're talking about the content format, obviously that can be anything. I've picked here slightly hard mode. We said we'll do a webinar. If we're doing webinars, another small tip is I like to use URLs that are under our control to the sign up page. So rather than linking, say, to Zoom for people to sign up, we link to our own URL and redirect it, because then when the webinar's over, we can remove the redirect and maybe put a recording up on that URL, and we keep all the kind of link equity that we earned. But what we're trying to get to do then is get those hubs to actually email then all of those people that we did the research with, because we've got these fascinating results. We can share the graphics with them. So rather than doing this one-to-one outreach of trying to say, okay, we want this journalist or this website to publish it, we're getting our content that's been validated by the users sent directly to hundreds or thousands of them directly. Also, you've got your experts. If you've used them, they're normally very keen to share it as well, because they've been highlighted, featured, quoted, etc. And really, as bonus from doing all of this, you've kind of created your story formula anyway. If you did want to go back and do your kind of classic outreach, and you've got all of the kind of ingredients to a good story. So you've researched a problem, which is based in a fact, you've got insight from an expert, and you've provided a solution. So you can still do that. So all these tips are really around not getting stuck in this. We have to do some amazing one big PR campaign and it's all or nothing, and we're just trying to get hold of journalists. There's a whole branch of outreach that's really successful that you can do if you use hubs for your outreach. Get in contact with multiple people in your audience at once, rather than doing this one-to-one, and certainly getting your ideas validated, because otherwise it's a really big gamble, right? Because you just don't know how well those ideas are going to pan out, because I'm sure we've all had campaigns flop before. Anyway, I'm sure I've gone over my 5 minutes, so Mike.
That's all right. That's great. Yeah, some really juicy stuff in there. So yeah, when looking at what I was going to cover today, it's always tricky to pick out a particular campaign, but I also thought I'd go down the content route. We did a content production for a company called Go Cardless, and yeah, looking at similar stuff to Alina, but trying to do that at scale. So a couple of tips to look out for in this is making sure that you're using every resource that you have at your disposal when identifying your content topics, and then also making sure that your content strategies are continually refined based on new data. So the most successful ones typically seem to be, and then finally in our industry, always communication is key. So yeah, if you move on to the next slide, I'll give you an overview of Go Cardless. So they make it easy to collect direct debit payments from customers worldwide. So clearly a relatively dry topic, but they came to us with a really aggressive growth strategy. And if you have a look at the next slide, we can see that they were looking for 15x organic traffic uplift. And we sort of identified content as a really great opportunity for them. So on the next slide, you'll see what the strategy was looking at, which is really to increase their visibility across this broad range of kind of mid to low range keywords for relevant, and relevant's a really big important word here, relevant keywords for as well as the backlink. So starting off, this really the first major tip here is how we use all the resources at our disposal. We typically, I think everyone does start with a competitor gap analysis here, and then we expand that out with all the tools at our disposal. Sorry, Mark, for not mentioning yours just yet, but everything you possibly can get your hands on, and use your favorite. Don't forget the PAAs, featured snippets, and services like Answer the Public. Those are great. But I think Alina mentioned this as well. Really important to make sure that you are including the people at the coalface here. So making sure you're having Q&As and brainstorming sessions with stakeholders, the content writers, all of the staff, at Go Cardless were fantastic. We went to them and said, look, we are SEO experts. If we were just writing about SEO, we would be able to do this on our own, but actually we need everything that we can possibly get from you to help us formulate these ideas. And then using internal search. Internal search is a great way of getting your content ideas, Google Search Console, etc. And then the last point of that was to how do we then identify the topics? And I think internally it was very important for us to have a number of brains looking at this. It's often that if one person's trying to identify 100 pieces of content, you can get kind of stuck in that cycle and you get a bit blinkered. So it was really important for us to have a number of people coming at it from various angles. So 10 people trying to work on something where we're producing 100 articles gives you all sorts of angles that you can approach it from. So we found that really important. Once the content production got underway, we can see in Q1 a very typical graph here of some sort of steady progress in the beginning, and then we saw a big ramp up in Q2, which leads me into the kind of second tip, is to make sure that once you see that uplift, you're using that data to feed back into the process. And that's really important. So one thing for us was to identify the topics that were working really well, see which ones needed a little bit more effort and whether it was still valuable to attack those. And then that feeds back through the whole process. So you can see on the next slide what kind of performance that led to. Just in looking at this graph on the right-hand side is the UK, which is the blue line, and that. But you can see all of those kind of growing exponentially. So it's meant that we can validate the whole process, and we can have the confidence that the production of this content is going to really benefit us going into 2021, where we're looking at now producing around 160 articles for these guys a month. So really great. The next slide is just an illustration of how we should approach this. So starting with that keyword research, identifying those topics and publishing content is often where the process ends, but actually the analysis of those results that feeds back into that keyword research is super essential here. It really changed the approach. We could refine our processes, and that keyword research then keeps growing. So making sure that that happens. Finally, the last word is on communication. I think it was so refreshing to work with a client who really quite quickly bought into the process here. But that really stemmed from great communication, and that's with all of the stakeholders. So everyone understands the process, knows that there might be some lead time before these things take off, and then of course once you get the traction, you know, the rest is kind of history. And now we're in a really good space. So yeah, nice to look back on that. Pass on to Maret. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. That was so interesting. I completely agree with the Kaizen model of reflecting on what you've done and then using what you've learned to improve, essentially. Cool. So I've got a couple of things that I'm going to share. They are not so much focused on campaigns I've run, but I just wanted to share some of my favorite campaigns of 2020 and what I will be doing in 2021, basically. So on the next slide, basically what I found is that the campaigns that I enjoyed the most and that resonated with me most in 2020 were campaigns that were authentic, genuine, you know, real stories. They were the ones that were unique, fun, and had a really unexpected twist. And more often than not, and especially in 2020, they would either pull something in from current affairs or show something really nostalgic and really pull on those heartstrings of I'm quite old. So this is the first example. This is Sancho's. I was actually introduced to them by Sarah Marks, who I did a Tea Time SEO on e-commerce emails with. Sancho's is run and led by a Black woman. She's really outspoken. She knows exactly what she wants the brand to stand for. And I think this is a really good example of where a small company, not just the big ones, but where a small company can really use their platform for good things and actually create a campaign that's really meaningful, authentic, and educational. So she's using her platform to do good things, basically. Then on the next slide, completely different, but is the Brewdog and Aldi collaboration. I'm sure most of you will have seen it on Twitter. Essentially what happened was a bit of a Twitter war, which resulted in this amazing collaboration where Aldi copied Brewdog's Punk IPA into the anti-establishment IPA, and it ended up with Brewdog then making the Ald IPA. They've now agreed to sell crates of this in not just Aldi. I feel like Tesco and Sainsbury's have also said they are really interested in selling this. And for every crate sold, both Brewdog and Aldi will be planting trees in a forest which Brewdog runs to, you know, give back. So again, a bit of do-goodery. That might be a little bit of a theme here. And then finally, Budweiser at the start of lockdown, what they did is they actually took their literal, I think it was 1999 campaign. We all know the original. And to be honest, if you don't know it, you're probably very young, and please don't remind me of how old I am. It is Christmas after all, but they used the original footage and just dubbed it with the new version, which is "What's up?" the quarantine version. And basically, it's a throwback, but also shows that there is a connection even when people are apart, and really encourages people to check in on each other. I think the tagline was "Buds support buds," which is exactly what we needed when we were all a bit downtrodden back in, well, this year. And I really enjoyed that one. So that was definitely a nostalgia one. Then what I will be doing in 2021 is basically, my motto will be combining forces in every sense of the way. So I want to combine data and empathy, basically to create thoughtful, useful, and relevant content. Julia Nikolsky, I think it is, and I'm really sorry if I pronounced that wrong, but she's written an excellent article about using data and empathy to create context and actually inform your campaigns way more than just a set of data or just empathy can do. I then want to combine my digital marketing channels for a wider reach and being able to start conversations. SEO is fantastic, and in isolation, it will get you somewhere, but it will only get you so far. So the beauty of having all these channels at our disposal means that they can work together, and we can have a real integrated David Brent integration approach. What I've not added, but what I did want to say with that as well, is I want to combine online and offline information. I think this is something that companies really miss out on. There's loads of content that people can share, from brochures or talking to their sales team, talking to their customer service team, who are getting the actual questions from the actual leads and the actual customers. And this can further inform a content strategy. And finally, I will be combining forces, quite literally. I will be collaborating with some of the smartest cookies I know, basically to create campaigns that are super excellent, and that hopefully I can then share with you next year. So yes, I am inviting myself to Tea Time SEO Christmas next year. And then just a thank you to everyone, really, especially to Joe, Carrie, and the Authoritas team. Thank you so much for everything you've done this year and the events you've organized. Thank you to all the speakers, obviously Alina, Mike, and Mark, but also all the other speakers that I've had the absolute pleasure with sharing the Tea Time stage. And of course, you guys, you're breathtaking. No, you're breathtaking. You're all amazing. Thank you for having wonderful chats, and you're all legends. That's it.
Ah, thank you very much, Maret. That's great. Thank you, everyone, for sharing all your great tips. We had loads to get inspired from, and then to motivate us for 2021. I'll pass over to Carrie for any questions.
Great, thank you. We have only time for one question, so I thought I'd give one question for all of you to answer. What is one thing that you have learned this year and that you will be taking into 2021? Which basically Maret just answered. So, Alina, you can start.
Yeah, I've been put in the deep end with being the first one to answer this. I guess for me, it's the fact that you shouldn't be forgetting the things that work for you. So if you get anything out of what I said earlier, it's the fact that you know what works for your brand. And yes, it's well and good to be doing all the new things, all the extra things, from like voice search to, I don't know, like just things that you don't like when you're trying to branch out, doing something new. It's great. But at the same time, you need to ensure that actually you do go back to basics. You do look at that, and you keep looking at that as well, because Google does like to change, especially when it comes to like schema markup shifts or like even like AMP page creation. Like, it's just making sure, the thing is, Google is getting smarter, and so you should always be revisiting that.
Amazing, thank you. Mark?
Yeah, I think there were some really great points actually. So especially, I think it's about almost being reminded of things rather than sometimes new things, because it's very easy to get excited about new and shiny things. And I think it's been highlighted especially by all these broad core algorithm updates we're getting, where, you know, Google's got this copy paste announcement now of, yeah, there's a new core update. We're not telling you anything. Just keep doing what you should be doing. So really strongly thinking about fundamentals, intent. But for me, what I did actually focus on this year more than I have previously, and this is moving me, I would say, from an SEO space more to a traditional marketing space, is realizing the value of brand in so many ways, not just in terms of getting Google to recognize and understand your brand as a thing, as an entity, but it's also a way long-term wise to strategically protect yourself from Google, because Google has obviously moved itself into the dominant position in many different verticals, when it's stripping away showing web pages and showing answers. So rather than, you know, if someone, you know, the gold standard is, rather than us ranking for SEO agency, I want my marketing activity aligned so people are just Googling Canada or our name. And that's, I think, should be the gold standard of a lot of what you're doing. Everything should be contributing to this brand equity, because that's what's going to see you through updates, algorithms, everything.
I think for me, reflecting on the I completely agree with both Mark and Alina, but for me, it's nice to really realize how resilient our industry remains, and how important it still is. You know, we can certainly see the companies that double down on their SEO efforts, how rewarding that has been for them. But in the same breath, you know, we absolutely need to remember why we're doing it, and that is, you know, the user at the end of the day. So yeah, really looking forward to taking that as a kind of philosophy into 2021, and really trying to make these websites as user friendly as we possibly can.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Mike, that the user is essentially who we should keep front of mind. After all, in the nicest way, Google or Bing are not the ones that will be buying our products. It is the users, it is the people that will recognize our, you know, the company's name, or what the company stands for. And I think that in particular has become more and more important after this year, is having core values and standing by them, even as a business. I've definitely seen companies take a stand this year for the things that they believe in. And, you know, this can be as big as Black Lives Matters, but it can be as small as, I just really don't want to buy from a company that uses Hermes as a courier. But essentially, I feel like it is becoming more important to, as a company, stand for your values and actually stand by them.
Great, thank you. Thank you everyone for joining, and I'll hand back in.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate a big thank you to our audience for being there, which is posted in the chat, that we had 69 sessions and 125 unique speakers, all from over the world. Probably not Australia, just because of the time difference, but it was great to have so many of you, men and women, 50-50 split for our speaker lineup. And also very keen to share that we've had people coming in from different backgrounds, so different elements of online marketing. So a lot of great tips shared by everyone, and I hope you've all enjoyed it. We do have the playlist on our Tea Time SEO playlist, so have a look. And we will be working on our ultimate guides, a little bit delayed, but we'll have some ultimate guides, more going live in the new year. We just have the on page one live for now. And if you have any questions or comments and you want to contribute to any of the guides, let us know. But just want to say a very big thank you for everyone that's been part of Tea Time. Really happy that we had so many sessions. As I said, started at March 30th, and this one's our last one. So hope you have a relaxing holiday, and we'll be in touch in the new year.
Thanks so much, team.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you all. Mike.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Oh, cute photo. Thank you, Alina and baby. Mark, you had your baby in earlier, or your baby's in the
No,
other
she was
room?
just screaming just outside the room.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you for giving up your time and joining us on our last show. So we'll see you all very soon.